Jeff Zwerenk here, and welcome to our conversation. Today I'm joined by Dr. Eric Thompson. He's got a degree in veterinary medicine and is currently a partner in an executive networking organization. And we're going to address a topic that seems to be infecting the church at some level. It's this: we can't expect much. And so we're going to see what a partner in an executive networking organization has to say about how to deal with this phenomenon. Eric, it's good to have you again today.
Great to be here, Jeff.
So let's just kind of put out on the table, what is the "we can't expect much" problem that we're dealing with here?
You know, it's a phrase that I made up that reflects comments that have been made to me over the last few years as I work as a lay minister in churches in preparing youth ministry materials. And basically the concept is we can't expect much time from our kids because they're so busy in other things. They've got a lot of schoolwork to do. They've got a lot of sports events. So we only get them for a few minutes at church on Sunday mornings and say Wednesdays. And they don't want homework. They don't want additional work. So the phrase is we can't expect much. What's hit me recently about that is kind of a sharp contrast between my day job, my work job, where I deal with large organizations that are dealing with a philosophy that's very different than that. Not only do large companies expect much, they expect a lot more with a lot less. The global marketplace and the degree of competitiveness is never ceasing, it's always increasing. So they're doing it obviously for the purpose of profits and serving their customers. Because if they don't increase, if they don't expect more, their customers are expecting more from them. If they don't, they're just not going to cease to exist anymore.
So let me ask a question about that, because it's just a question that runs through my mind. Is there's part of that okay, as a business I can understand you need to get customers, you need to be self-sustaining, supporting. There's a part that almost seems antithetical to the church, if you will, in there. The church is kind of a place where we're cease striving, we can't earn our way, kind of a rest and recovery from that, if you will. Right. So how does what you're saying not just lead into corporate world brought into church?
Well, you know, I think you're absolutely right. We need a safe place to go. We need a safe haven. We need to be surrounded by, say, fellow Christians to help us navigate a culture that's truly becoming post-Christian these days. But also I think that culture is impacting us and our kids in ways that we often forget. I view that we are in a war, whether we like it or not, whether we need rest or not. And that war is especially intense for our kids. A war that was never at that level of intensity when I was a kid. Right. And so in my world, I'm thinking of the world that my kid's in right now is similar to how I grew up. It's nothing like it. And so I honestly think we're in a war for our souls, for our young people. And I don't think that war is as obvious as, say, on a secular in a secular business, a war for customers. But I think it's far more critical and far more dire.
So it's almost, rather than okay, we need to be more effective, efficient, whatever. The parallel seems to be more in the companies you're working with. If they are not preparing themselves for the challenges that are out there, they're going to fail.
Exactly.
And in the church, if we're not preparing ourselves and our kids for the challenges that are out there, they're going to fail as well.
Exactly.
So that's more the philosophy, it seems like, rather than let's just do better and work harder.
Exactly. Better and work harder never worked in a secular world. It's not going to work in the church world either.
Okay, so practically speaking, how does this play out? What can we do in the church to help prepare our kids to deal with the challenges they're going to face?
Well, I think first it starts with parents, and I think it starts with church leaders, and I think it starts with adult lay leaders to recognize the realities. Okay. You know, whether we like it or not, the world has changed, and we have to equip our kids in a way that they never have been before. Secondly, I think that part of that is that we need to link into a lot of resources that are available to that out there, and do so in a way that's done efficiently and effectively, and in a way that really engages our kids. We can't use old techniques. We have to use new techniques and speak in the language that they also recognize. But we can't ignore that, and we also have to make sure that we put the bar high enough that and inoculate these kids with what they're going to see and hear while we have them in their care before they leave our care, so they don't hear for the first time.
It seems like that's inevitably going to require setting a different set of priorities than what's out there.
Absolutely.
So maybe instead of going to the best school, because that's going to be an inordinate amount of work, you go to a school that's best suited for your kid. Those sorts of things, so that you have the time to do the stuff that's important.
I think that's, by the way, I think that's a great example that some hard decisions on the parents are going to have to be made. What's more important? Yeah, I like to think of it, okay, what's the time frame involved here? Is it the next 40 years, 30 years, or is it the next 10,000 years? Make decisions for your kids that are obviously based on the 10,000 year and eternal perspective than it is the short term. That may mean sending your kids to a less glamorous school. That may mean cutting down certain extracurricular activities in place of spiritual development activities. That may mean doing less things that may be fun, but on the surface, but more engaging as it relates to discovering and getting to know God.
So let's kind of, I'd like to end with just some kind of practical tips. What are some things that, being as though we're busy, what are some practical things that we can do that begin to transfer some of those truths that as adult Christians, mature Christians we've known, to transfer those to our kids and our youth around?
Well, one easy way is sitting around the dinner table and just simply asking your kids, so what do you believe? And why do you believe it? And have them answer that question. And explore the answer to that question. And actually challenge them to ask you, as your parent, that question. Secondly, maybe down the road, role play. Role play being an atheist. Role play being Mormon. Role play being a peer from your class who might be interested in what you believe, but might want to ridicule you for it. And see how they respond to that. Just kind of role play it.
So that's going to require you to do some investigation as well. It's a role play. You gotta know what the other side says.
That's exactly right. And then after the role play, talk about how you may want to have answered or looked at that, and encourage your kids to dig into the answers. Because guess what? Next week I'm going to ask you a tougher question. Thirdly, hit the mission field. Hit the mission field in your living room. Invite in a Mormon missionary, invite in a Jehovah's Witness, and have them talk about what they believe and why they believe. But have your kids part of that conversation and eventually lead that conversation. And then compare their beliefs with them and have a very friendly discussion around that. We do that at our house, and in fact, we form these relationships, in this case with Mormon missionaries, that we just so enjoy. And what I've noticed when I first started doing that, it's deepened my knowledge of what I believe and why I believe. There's nothing like having to articulate what you believe, why you believe, to somebody who has very different beliefs to really know it.